All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this week's session of The Pulse. I hope everyone had a great weekend. For those that don't know us, my name is Maria,
I'm Tim.
and we're going to go ahead and get started. So, last week was definitely volatile. I'm excited to see what this week brings us.
It's definitely going to be interesting. I missed most of the day Thursday, and I missed all of Friday. And apparently that was a good thing. So some say. So we could go over all of last week's plays, um, but really I don't see any need of it this week. I mean, I think we're going to have to focus on what's coming. And I don't think it's the end of the world here by any means, but I'd rather stay focused on the future here next week than the past, and just keep everybody's minds right. And we'll get started.
I like that idea. So we're going to do things a little bit differently today, guys. We'll still give you a little bit of background as far as what happened last week, what to expect for next week, what kind of events we have. But we're going to talk a little bit more about how we traded the past week and I guess the psychological part of it to a certain extent. So I'll go ahead and start off with just the backdrop of what happened last week. Equities dropped sharply, giving up ground for the second week in a row as investors took in the latest policy directive from the Fed and a new round of tariffs from the White House. The Dow dropped more than 1,100 points between Thursday and Friday, ending the week in correction territory, down more than 10% from its recent high. President Trump's decision to sign an executive memorandum to impose tariffs of up to 60 billion on Chinese imports was met with swift response from Beijing. In a report issued out of Beijing, 128 US products were listed as potential retaliation targets. Crude oil rose more than 5.5% as an unexpected draw in US crude supply and rising geopolitical tensions stoked demand. The dollar fell to a 5-week low against its rivals, despite last week's rate hike of a point, as the Fed failed to add a fourth rate hike to its monetary policy projections, while also scaling back its labor market expectations. Gold had one of its best weeks in a month, partly due to a less hawkish than expected Fed. But despite the sharp rally in gold prices, data showed that traders continued to slash their bullish bets on gold. The S&P 500 fell below the 50-day moving average of 2743 at Monday's opening bell and closed the week a tick above the 200-day moving average, ending the week at 2588. The Dow slid 1.8% Friday to its worst close since November 2017, closing the week at 23,533. The Nasdaq closed the week at 6992, losing 2.4% on Friday. All 11 S&P sectors finished in negative territory, with financials, tech, and healthcare leading the retreat. Energy was the top performer, benefiting from that increase in crude, but still finished the week with a loss of 0.6%. So now that some of the heavy stuff is out of the way, what do you have for us, Tim?
Uh, you know, One of the things I wanted to talk about, and we've been saying this a lot more and more, and it's weird that we've been saying this for probably the last, actually 2 Friday nights ago, we did a little webinar on it, is staying mostly cash. No more than 30% invested, and 20 to 30, no more than that invested at any one time. And we got guys that's going to bed all cash right now, and that's a good idea too. I know a lot of people say, well, you can't make money if you're not invested. You can make plenty of money in and out, just getting in and out. No need to push it. Again, last week, from some of the DMs I've had, text messages, a lot of people were just fully invested. And, myself as a trader, I'm not really an investor. I'm a trader. So I don't see a real big reason to ever stay fully invested. I can see actually no reason for myself to be that way. So again, we just want to have everybody, you know, with the mentality of in and out, in and out. We're not falling in love with these stocks. I don't care how cheap they are. And listen, when we turn, there'll be some great money to be made, but there'll be great money to be made intraday as well. And we forget sometimes that we are traders, and we can trade this to the downside or the upside. And even in a sideways market, we can find something to trade. I know a lot of people in the room Friday, Maria, you, Tech Money, and several did very well off just trading LMT, trading the Qs, trading
Yeah.
SPY. any direction. Nobody was going, all right, well, I've got to go put 30% of my portfolio in apples today. No, you don't. And I know
Right.
weeks like that suck for traders. I know they hurt, not traders really necessarily, more investors. And this is why we encourage everybody to learn to play the downside as well as the upside. I can, but I prefer not to make my living just directionally as a bull. I'm a bell, which is a bearish bull, and I prefer, that's just the way I like to trade personally. And so we'll continue that this week, and hopefully we have another good week. I know we closed green thanks to you. I was gone, like I said, but you were short the Qs Thursday and Friday, and actually made up any loss and then some. So I was very impressed to see that Friday afternoon. So I appreciate that. And that's the thing. We can play this any direction, and with options, it's easy. Put calls, puts. It doesn't. You're not a bad person by taking a put in something. You're not a bad person for shorting Apple, buying puts in Apple, or even Nvidia. We've had guys in the room. Sometimes I'm bullish on something and I'm taking a long position. I've seen Zeke a couple of times. Man, I'm short that. Hey, good. That's what makes it all work. So anyway, we just buckle down. Nobody needs to start panicking, tripping out. We'll all get through this.
I agree, Tim. And I will tell you that this past week, one of the biggest questions that I got, or the question that got repeated the most was, how did you possibly make money? What did you, like, how do you trade this kind of market? What do you do? So for me, I never stay heavy in the market, meaning I'm not going to hold over a certain percentage of my total cash in the market overnight. I just never have, and I never will. I don't like it. I feel like, you know, if it's not in the market, I'm not at risk of losing it. So I've always, just like you, Tim, like I keep a very, very, very small percentage in the market. So what that does is it allows me to not necessarily forget about the fact that I may be losing on those positions, but it opens up opportunities for me to scalp against that movement. So, if the market is going down, which it was on Friday, especially towards the end of the day, I started, and I scalped all day long. I mean, I was constantly all day long. I was in and out, in and out, in and out, just trying to scalp to keep the account even or slightly green. So yes, we had a green day, but it's not like we're not up in the accounts a massive amount or anything like that. A little bit, which is nice. But for me, it was okay, just scalp that difference back. Keep trading it until I can get the account at the very minimum to even. So it's easy for traders, especially traders that are newer and may not be used to any kind of volatility or may not have ever traded through any kind of volatility. It's very easy to panic and it's very easy to just freeze and do nothing and just sit there. What I have recommended or what I've told people to do, or traders, especially newer ones, is to take a look at your positions. Make sure that you're not overly invested. Make sure that you're not too heavy in the market. Make sure that you have enough cash available that you can scalp to try to recover some of whatever you're losing as the market is dropping. Um, and find the opportunities that are there for you to make that money back, if that makes sense. So I think it's, Tim, I agree with you 100%. I don't think it's the end of the world. Yes, it's down. It doesn't feel great, especially when we're used to up, 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 up. To all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, 1,100 points in 2 days. That's a big drop. Yeah, it's a big drop. But at the same time, it's not the end of the world. And just like always, in order to make the next leg up, we have to pull back. We need to come down so that we can go forward.
It gives
So I'm
buying
not,
opportunities.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. At some point, buyers will step in and, we will see potentially that next leg up. I don't want to say hopefully. I keep trying to stop myself. I don't want to say hopefully. But yeah, and obviously we don't know what's going to happen. Could it continue down? Yes.
Well,
Is it very possible that we stay kind of where we are, consolidate and make the next leg up? Yes. We really have no idea what's going to happen, just like anyone else.
and here's another thing too. And Maria had to set me straight Friday night, and I'm not embarrassed to say this because she was right. Because Friday after I got done with my little relic hunt that night, we were talking, and she's like, "Well, here's what happened today. Here's what I did." And I'm like, "Wow, those Q trades, you could have made 200% on those." She goes, "Yeah, I took my, well, I think it was 15% or whatever it was." She said, "I took my 15%. We were green on the day. We were positive on the day, and there was no way I was going to be greedy. What if they turned?" It was easy on me in hindsight to say, "Wow, Maria, you could have probably made way, way more." But she's a robot, and she did the right thing. She took her greens, she protected her account, she made us money, and she walked away. She forgot it even happened and went on to something else. And really, even 20 years later, I have to respect that because I'm like, wow, you know what? She did exactly the right thing. And how many times in my life have I wished I would have just took the fucking green? Like she did Friday. Yeah, she could have made more. She did the right thing. That's exactly what she did was the right thing. And I'm not ashamed to say that, hey, I was wrong in that situation. It's easy for me to look back and go, wow, you could have doubled that. But she did the right thing. She kept us green. She made us money. She didn't get greedy. Yeah, woulda, shoulda, coulda, blah, blah, blah. She did the right thing. At the end of the day, it's about having more money in the account than you started with, and she accomplished that. And she didn't get greedy. She's been doing it long enough to know that greed kills too. And how many times have you seen green trades or green trades go red? She didn't let that happen. Yeah, she could have held it, blah, blah, blah. She did the right thing. So, Maria, I'm sorry about that. So, anyway, you did the right thing. And everybody should be doing more of that. Take your greens, move on to the next trade or the next day, whatever.
Right. So, every day is a new opportunity, and I'm nowhere near a perfect trader. Tim's not a perfect trader. No one's a perfect trader. I can always do something better. We can always all do something better. I tell Tim all the time, I really don't know shit. I know what chart is in front of me and I trade it to the best of my ability. But on days like Friday, for me, especially when I'm in a smaller account and I'm trying to work against that red that I'm seeing in the account, I'm going to take my green quicker. I'll keep going back in over and over and over, but I'm going to secure that green every little step of the way, if that makes sense. So that was my focus on Friday, and that's how I trade these kind of markets. So again, guys, I scalp primarily. That's what I am. That's where my strength lies. And this kind of market provides the perfect environment for me to scalp. So if you're not a scalper, it can definitely be scary. Like that's the other side to that is that if you are primarily a swing trader or you are a longer term investor, um, you may not want to scalp. It might be a little bit scary, and there are ways to hedge your position, even if it's a short term hedge, even if it's a hedge for a couple days, just to kind of offset the amount of red that you are seeing in the account. Well, it's in, again, when I say hedge, it's hedge to offset. It's not hedge to profit, which is important. A lot of times people, when they hedge, they're like, oh, well, I didn't make anything off of that. Well, you're not supposed to. All it's there for is to offset what you're losing on your long position or on your short position, depending on, what position you're hedging. So keep that in mind. When you are hedging, your hedge is not there for you to make money off of. Your hedge is there for you to offset a potential loss. And it may not be one for one. If you're down $300 on a position and you have a hedge, your hedge may only gain 150. You may still be down 150, but that's okay. Your hedge brought you 150 closer to break even, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So
anyway,
yeah, come on. Tim, what do you have for us?
Getting into next week, we've been saying for a while that these low floats penny stocks have been running again, and I know I'm beating a dead horse, but when I looked back last week at some of the ones that held up well, I said, you know what, got to keep an eye on those again next week. And I didn't get to look at anything very much, but I know Dern had a good week in a very, very red market. So definitely keep an eye on Gern.
And I have the chart pulled up here, Tim, on Gern. I know you can't see it. So when was that, Thursday, it hit a high of 668, kind of sold off, but really held support. I remember we went over that in our weekly webinar as well. Friday, let me get the 1 day pulled up. So Friday It bounced down, hit a high of 610. I'm still happy with where it closed. Let me zoom back out to that 5-day so you can see it. Here's the 5-day. So if you look where my crosshairs are kind of circling, even that lower level is holding the support back on Wednesday. Even though it's an after hours support, that's fine. I'll use it. That to me is still okay. So Gurn, we're still going to keep on watch to see,
ECYT.
yeah, see what it does. So ECYT.
I think it
Let's
was down a little bit maybe Friday, but for the week, I think it's still hung in there. And there are a couple institutions in that we'd read a couple of weeks ago. So I still think on, if the market does turn, that's going to be one that turns fast as well.
I agree. And I do have that weekly pulled up on Gurn, as you can see, still
Garner
holding.
ECYT.
I'm sorry, ECYT, my apologies. ECYT is still holding fairly well. We're just gonna, again, this is one that we're keeping an eye on just for potential continuation.
AKER, I don't normally like stocks under $1, but we've got so many people that's been playing this thing lately, and they've asked us to keep an eye on it that it's still held above that 75, or it's still close above that 75. So keeping an eye on Acre up here too as well for
Yeah.
a dollar pop at some point, hopefully.
And and we talked about last week, we talked about Acre, that consolidation. So when was that? Wednesday, it held this range. I mean, just really tight consolidation. Thursday, it consolidated slightly higher. Friday, down a little bit from Thursday, but still that really tight range, holding again above that 75. So we will keep an eye on it as well.
I can't think if I had any more on there for those low floats. Um,
We did
I'm trying to
Elfin.
go off memory. Elfin,
Elfin.
yeah, it's kind of a different category to me because look at the price of that thing, what it did last week, and we had touched on that just for a second last Sunday as well, that it had made a move. So yeah, show us that one real quick too.
So here's a 10-day chart on Elfin. Back here, when I don't even know the date. So 10 days ago, it was at 34.51 and just stair stepped up until, recently and just took off. It hit a high of 74.50. I am not, let me see if there was news on it. So they joined the Russell 2000 on the 22nd.
Okay.
Here's the article, guys. Let me blow this up so you can see it a little bit better. I hope that's big enough. They joined the Russell 2000 and the Russell 3000 index. So that is why they were running.
So I'm going to 87, and this guy just passed me with a license plate Frog Dad. He just blew me like I wasn't even like I was 155.
Nice.
Good job, Frog Dad. I'm gonna follow you now, so let's roll. Anyway, sorry. Just thought it was interesting license plate. Oops, did I lose everybody?
Nope, I was on mute. That's all. My fault. So that was last week. Let's take a look at next week. So this coming week, the final reading of the fourth quarter GDP will be the highlight. Markets are closed on Friday for Good Friday. A number of Fed Reserve policymakers are due to make public appearances that may offer insights into the likelihood of higher interest rates in the months ahead. On the international front, in the UK, traders will be looking at the final reading on British growth data. Inflation data is due out of Germany, and Canada is scheduled to release GDP numbers. The economic calendar. So here's the economic calendar for next week. On Monday morning, we have the Chicago Fed National Activity Index. Tuesday, we have the Home Price Index and CCI, Consumer Confidence Index. Again, Wednesday, we have GDP and pending home sales. Thursday, we have the weekly jobless claims number, consumer spending, personal income, core inflation, Chicago PMI, and the Consumer Sentiment Index. Friday, again, we're closed. We don't have anything out there. And before we get into some earnings, I wanted to go over just a couple of plays that, or not, I don't want to call them plays, just a couple of tickers that we have been keeping an eye on or we are holding a position in. So Box. Box is the first one. Box we were up on beautifully, and it took a beating on Friday because of Dropbox IPO, because of the Dropbox IPO. And by the time I saw it, it was already down. We are still holding on to that. They are also a potential M&A target. So we're holding on to those for the time being. I want to see what it does on Monday, possibly Tuesday. And, if it looks like it's going to continue down, we will cut that position. But as of right now, we are still holding Box. AMD, we are still holding a position in as well. We are down on that right now, but we have some longer term calls on that. So I think we're okay. Again, a lot of this is going to be just dependent on what we see. We have some events this week, which AMD may potentially see a small, run with those events or more of a sympathy. Not, I don't want to say sympathy, but it could run based off of those other events. Boeing, Tim, you have anything to say about Boeing?
Just that. Oh, sorry, my door window's cracked. Just
You're
that
fine.
Namish killed it.
He's killing
And
it.
the last
I
count
mean,
I had was 7 days. I don't know if he got it on Friday or not because I wasn't there.
he did. He
He did,
absolutely
so
did.
8 days in a row. So he was going for 9 days in a row. So that's tomorrow. So let's see what
I
happens
think
there
he'll get
again.
it. He will.
I think
He's
he'll
back.
get it. He's not
So
going to stop at 8. He's going
awesome.
to hit his 9.
Boeing. So Boeing, Namish, again, thank you. That was a gorgeous call. Another beautiful call by Namish was LMT. He called that right when, I don't remember, Namish, you'll have to type it to me, but I remember it was on Friday. I picked up calls. You said something and I went in, I just bought a couple. Well, actually, what's funny is I bought 10 contracts. They were super cheap, Friday expiration. I bought them in our joint account. I meant to buy them in our own account because I was just like, well, if it works, it works. If not, no big deal. But we ended up making really good money on that in the joint account, which kind of helped us. So let's see. Um, let's see. So LMT was another Namish play. Again, gorgeous call. Thank you very much there. So kind of just to piggyback on, defense, RTN, I like a lot. It also ran a little bit. I did not play it, but if I can get, let me actually get a year pulled up so you can see that yearly. Actually, may not be a bad spot. RTN, if I can get even a little bit of a pullback on RTN, I may actually pick up some calls for a little bit longer term. I like where it's at. It has this consolidation and then it kind of picked up, pulled back a little bit, picking back up slightly. So I will keep an eye on this one as well. Baba, let's look at Baba. Yeah. So Baba, let me get the daily pulled up. Baba took a beating on Friday, hit a low of 180 and 40 cents. I love Baba. Tim says it all the time. It's a $200 stock or $200+ company, and I agree with him. So right now, Baba is feeling the effects of all the geopolitical stuff going on, but I think that longer term, I still like Baba a lot. Tim, do you have anything to add on Baba?
I want Baba. I'll probably. I'm eyeing that one for a bigger swing. Definitely
Very
eyeing that
nice.
one. Twitter.
And
We still
Twitter.
on Twitter as well.
We do still own
I
Twitter.
think.
So yeah, we do. We still own Twitter. Let me get the 5-day pulled up. So, and actually Twitter, if you look at Twitter, Twitter's actually not as bad as some of the other ones. Yes, it took that huge hit back when Facebook did. It's down off of its highs, but it's really not that bad. I believe on Friday it closed around 3103 was the close, up slightly in after hours, just a couple pennies on no volume, but it's still in the 30s, which to me is amazing. I think that's absolutely amazing that Twitter is still holding this 30 handle.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And we've got calls for ER, so I'm not as worried about Twitter. Obviously, all eyes on Facebook as well because when the market turns, and I'm not a fan of this, but that one, the way it was bumping before everything happened, people were already thinking it was cheap. So we'll see what we can get here. Again, for us as a trade, um,
Yeah.
Facebook. So
Yeah, Facebook hit a low of 158. It was in the 158. Let me get a 1 minute. And after hours, it hit a low of 158.80. It closed at 159.39. But again, no volume after hours, but just kind of flat. So it will be interesting to see what happens with Facebook.
a lot of flow into Facebook on those down days. Lots and lots of flow on that.
And you know what's even crazier is a lot of that flow, granted, and actually I'll pull it up for you real quick. On Facebook, the flow on that, it actually kind of surprised me. There was a lot of call volume. Let me go through here.
There was a lot that was actually expiring Friday
Yeah,
that got pretty beat up, but there was some longer term stuff in there as well. Um,
yeah,
and
there
again,
was.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan, and I'm not trying to call a bottom by any means. I'm just looking at it for a play.
So I filtered out the puts, Tim, just so you kind of know what I'm showing on the screen. This is just from the 16th, all the call flow on Facebook. I mean, there's an awful lot of call flow. Yes, some of it's closing out, some is on the bid side, but there, if you look, some of these were again 323 above the ask. Some of them are further out into April, May, June. Some are for this coming week. So yeah, Facebook, I definitely want to keep an eye on.
MU
It has, yeah,
also. I meant to go over that ER. Sorry, Mary, I wasn't trying to cut you off.
no, you're good.
We'll be looking for a spot on MU as well for sure.
And surprisingly, MU closed at 54. So yeah, under 60, but still held that 50, which is amazing. I think that's awesome.
The
I think
I
that's
think they
beautiful.
got it up. I do got to go through the ER because I haven't had a chance to see it yet because it was Thursday after the bell and I haven't seen the market since lunch Thursday. So we'll be digging into that hopefully tonight when I get home. We'll see.
Their, right. Their guidance was good. There was one portion of their guidance, something about the Nandi or some dram. There's one part of the guidance that might have had something to do with why they dropped a little bit, but overall guidance was good. MU, if you're looking at, bless you. I just pulled up a 1 year chart on 53. I've got a line at 53.22 ish, 53 to 53.22. That might be a potential spot to pick it up. So definitely on watch to potentially pick that up. So that one was
Uh,
MU.
I know I got some investor conferences and stuff coming up next week. I think in Nvidia.
We do,
That
and
takes place.
I'll go ahead and pull up NVIDIA because as always, NVIDIA is number one on my watch. As always. Let me get the So this was Friday's chart. We did play it. We scalped it long. I actually caught a short scalp on it as well. We bought some calls in the room for this coming week's conference, which okay, so not surprisingly, this week NVIDIA has their annual GPU conference. It's AI and deep learning conference. It's a pretty big conference, and in the middle of their conference, they are having their investor day and their investor analyst day. So we have calls for that. Last year, NVIDIA did run on their analyst day, and I think for a few days afterwards. Another one, and I know that we're getting a couple questions on it, on Amazon. Let's look at Amazon, and I'll read the question here too, if I can get to it. So the ban on China. So we're talking about China and Amazon. Tim, do you have any input as
I
to
don't.
how?
I don't. Not yet. I mean, I missed Thursday and Friday and haven't got caught up on the trip. Literally, I haven't had a moment to breathe since Friday morning. So
Right. Okay. So looking at this, here's what's on the list. So they're out of those 128 products. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Those 128 products include wine, fresh fruit, dried fruit, nuts, steel pipes, modified ethanol, and ginseng, according to China's Commerce Ministry website. I don't know if Amazon will truly see a really big hit on that. I know that Amazon was down quite a bit on Thursday and Friday, but for me, that's kind of normal. And let me pull up a longer term chart so we can kind of get a better look at it. So yeah, it's down, but Amazon is known for having those huge, like huge ranges. It'll be up $40, down $40. It's a $1,500 stock. So for me, that's fine. The other part to that is that Amazon is a high flyer. It's a high beta stock. It is going to be very sensitive to big movements. If there's sell-off in tech, Amazon's going to get it's going to get hit hard. So I'm not 100% sure how any Chinese tariffs will affect Amazon just yet, but we will look into it and we'll try to do that tonight so that we can update it in our daily recap tomorrow. Is that okay, Aravind? I think that was coming from you. We will look at it a little bit closer. Tim and I will tonight after he gets home and he's all settled and talks to his family and stuff. I'll harass him and find out if we can take a look at that a little bit closer, and we will update it tomorrow. Actually, I'll make a note. So Amazon again, I played puts on it on Friday, got a nice little scalp on it. I should have held it longer, didn't, but it was still a good trade. The other one, Tim, that I wanted to look at was Apple. Apple is back down to like 164, closed at 164.94. So it broke that one. It didn't break it. It's really around that 165 support that we've been eyeing for a while.
Yeah, I haven't got to see it. I apologize.
No, that's all
But I
right.
will be seeing it tomorrow.
Absolutely. So 165, if I could even get it around 163 or so, 163, 164, I'd be happy with that. I do want to see it. Looks like there's a really small gap right here. Really small gap right here down to about 162.80 something. Not that, I would expect that to fill at all, but definitely keeping on watch. Apple could also be a good one to pick up if we see the market cooperate. Tesla, we have to talk about Tesla. Elon's deleting pages and stuff like that, I believe, is what I read on Twitter. He said his page was lame anyway, his company page, so he was okay with deleting it. That's what happened on Friday. Um, well, we played it short early in the morning. At least I played puts on it early in the morning. So Tesla hit a low of 345, and 300, at least in my mind, and I'll pull up a 1-year chart. 300 seems to be a level of support, and I feel like there was some pretty solid support around the 300 level, maybe 290 to 300, approximately 295 to 300. So I want to see Tesla bounce around here.
Well, didn't
Uh,
Elon have something about slowing
you're
production?
right. He sure did.
So
So
that's going to be iffy.
that could definitely be iffy, or we could play puts on it, which is another possibility.
Yeah.
Where is that headline? Elon came out and said something about slowing down production on Saturday. That's what came out. Tesla to slow deliveries in Norway. He did this via Twitter. He said that, or the headline says CEO Elon Musk has indicated via Twitter that vehicle production in Norway will slow down this quarter. So he said, I have just asked our team to slow down deliveries. It is clear that we are exceeding the local logistics capacity due to batch build and delivery. Customer happiness and safety matter more than a few extra cars this quarter. So, and it does say here that his declaration was in response to an electric report on problems with vehicle transporters in Norway. So I'm not
That,
sure what's going to happen with Tesla.
yeah, I don't know if that's a major impact on deliveries to Norway, but anyway, just another headline. You got to look at them all.
So we have a question on the queues. Let me get the daily pulled up. What strike do you have for May? We have a member who has calls for May on the queues.
When did he get them, or she?
Yes. So when did you get them and what strike are you holding? Bought them on Friday. They're 165s.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I kind of like that.
Yeah, I
Let me
kind of
pull
like
it
it
up.
too. For me, I mean, listen, it depends on Trump, China, and even if that all gets straightened out, the market's jittery. So at least you gave yourself some time on it. I kind of like that actually.
I do too.
Something I may look at. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that May 165 is good, but the only thing to keep an eye on between now and May is, especially these next couple of weeks, is obviously the geopolitical stuff that's happening. So you may see some fluctuations there. If you've only picked up a starter position, you may be able to add to that slightly lower. If you're already full in, I personally don't like averaging down. I won't do that, but um, unless I've bought with
And
the
let
intention to buy lower. So if I
right,
have a starter position, when I say starter, if I know that I want to buy 10 contracts and I've bought two as a starter position, my intention is to build up to 10. So I may add at a lower price that way. But it's not like I've bought 10 to start with and then I add another 10 to average down. So
then
just
you
a
said,
little bit
oh
of
shit.
clarification. Right.
Right.
Right. But Arvind, I like May
I
165s.
kind of like that play. I kind of
I
like
like
that
it a
play.
lot. I'm actually writing it down because I want to look at it tomorrow. So I may actually join you on that. Sorry, guys. Here's my iTunes.
And if
May
I lose
165s.
service, I apologize. It won't be off long, but I'm going to a spot that's
No, you're good.
noted for shit like that.
No, you're fine. So Tesla, I don't want to call it either way, just jumping back real quick to wrap that up. Tesla, I don't know which way to call that. We've seen Tesla get bad news and it runs like $15. We've seen Tesla get good news and it'll drop $25. Who knows what will happen? But if it is enough news to move it, we should have an opportunity to play it one way or the other. So we will definitely be keeping an eye on that one. What else do I have? This is one that actually Namish had DM'd me about, and it's one that I like a lot. It's RHT. What was that weird candle? No, I don't know what that candle is. I'm going to ignore it. RHT, I love the company. I love the way it moves. And RHT has earnings tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, tomorrow afternoon, I believe. So here's the 1 year, approaching level of support. So I do like this one. I will probably wait till after the ER to see which way it wants to go before playing it. But RHT is definitely on heavy watch for me. There were a couple of others that a member in the room had sent me a direct message on and wanted us to take a look at, Tim. I know you know the names. I don't know. I'll give you as much of the chart as I can verbally. Wow. What happened to COHR? Does anybody remember earnings? Yep, it was earnings there. I don't know what happened over here. We're looking for a short play on COHR. Yeah, you have a little bit of space to play that. If it breaks the support right here, wow, that's actually a lot of room. So maybe a little bounce around 185 potentially if it continues down. So COHR, that support's a little bit older though. Not too old, not old enough to discount it, but COHR could be a good short play. There's a little bit of room to play it to the downside. I would just watch to see where it's bounced since it's already moved down so much. Wow, that's a huge move. Tim, did you remember COHR? It hit a high of 329, is now down to 192. What in the heck happened here?
I really don't. Especially driving, I just don't know. I'm sorry.
No, no, you're okay. So, well, Stiefel said it was a buying opportunity. Stiefel was wrong. Mm, Imperfect guidance. I'm gonna need to take a little bit of a closer look on this one, but I do think that there is an opportunity to play it short, at least a short-term play. Oops, I need my this thing. So that's COHR. Let me go to the second one was VEEV. Oops. So VEEV, let me take a look at on a yearly. Oh, that looks like it's about to drop off of a cliff. VEEV, actually, that could be potentially another short-term play. I don't know how much room you'll have to play it to the downside. Let's look through here.
You got some overextensions probably in Thursday and
Hmm.
Friday anyway that may have reached some things that make them look possibly worse than they could be if we start balancing out.
I agree.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't. I'm not in front of a computer though.
To take a look at it. V, we can definitely keep an eye on as well. The other one was Aflac. I actually saw this a couple weeks ago and I never figured out what was going on with it. Let me get the chart pulled up so you guys can see that too. Let's see. Let's go to a year. So it did. It hit a high of 45.88 and then made its way down. I want to see if it's going to bounce here. So I wouldn't necessarily short it just yet. I want to see if it holds this 43 level. If it holds 43, we might actually see a little bit of a bounce up. Otherwise, if it breaks that 43, you would have a little bit of room to play it to the downside as well. Not a lot of room, but just a little bit. You might get like 40, 30, 40 cents out of it, is what I'm thinking. So those are the three that we had from the room as far as requests to look at it. There are, let me get my notes pulled back up. Um, Next week, we did the economic calendar. Yes, we did. And earnings. This is next week's earnings or not. Here we go. Earnings. Monday, we have PayX, RHT. Tuesday, wow. Tuesday, we have Francesca's, McCormick. Tuesday afternoon, we actually have quite a few. We have Lulu, NLST, Restoration Hardware, Shoe Carnival, Sonic, and TEUM. Are all Thursday
There's a
afternoon. I'm
couple.
sorry, Tuesday. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple fun ones in there. Lulu's fun. RH is fun. You name something else is fun. So yeah, we'll have some fun Tuesday.
Wednesday, we have Blackberry, Walgreens, Kiwi. Wednesday afternoon, we have GameStop, PVH, and Sport Warehouse, SPWH. Thursday, we have one of my favorites, STZ. I love STZ. Movado, and then Thursday afternoon, we have Switch. Friday, again, we're closed, so we have nothing scheduled there. And conferences for next week, let's see. We have several conferences. There are actually more than what's on this slide. These are just the ones that I was going to pay a little bit more attention to. So again, March 26th through the 29th, we have NVIDIA's 2018 AI and Deep Learning Conference. Again, NVIDIA's Investor Day does fall within that time period as well. March 30th through the 8th, we have the New York International Auto Show. So there are companies like Ford that will be there that we might see a little bit of movement on. Needham's 17th Annual Healthcare Conference. There are a bunch of companies reporting there. We will probably on a daily basis and like give you guys what companies are going to be there just because there's too many that I saw to put them on a slide. Also, Apple has a special event scheduled on March 27th. I almost missed this. Apple is having they're scheduled to hold an event at Lane Tech College, Prep High School in Chicago on the 27th. They're looking to win back market share in the education market after watching Chromebook soar in popularity. It says hardware updates from the tech company could include an updated iPad Pro with Face ID technology, a new entry-level 9.7-inch iPad, and an updated iPhone SE. So it also says an Apple office in the Midwest could potentially be part of the plan. So Apple special event the 27th. I'm glad I remembered that. We just talked about Apple potentially as picking some calls up, but I knew there was something else. I just couldn't remember what it was. So here are this week's conferences and events. So we will be keeping an eye on a lot of different companies surrounding these particular events. And investor days, analyst days. We've got several really interesting ones. Energy has an investor day this week. Autodesk, Amba, GoDaddy, ARRS, NVIDIA, and Splunk. Splunk may not move as much from what we discussed in the room on Friday, but we're definitely keeping an eye on Energy, Autodesk, Amba, GoDaddy, NVIDIA, and so five out of the what is it, seven for sure. We're going to keep an eye on. And that's all I had, Tim. Do you have anything that you want to add before we take questions?
Now, just be careful next week, and don't be in a hurry. And if you don't feel like trading, listen. I'm not trying to talk you into scalping. We're just saying there's opportunities there. Do what you're comfortable with, and if setting out, just kicking back is your thing, hey, that's cool too. We can all do that together. We'll scalp together. We'll kick back together. Don't ever do anything that makes you uncomfortable.
Nelson is saying possibly a cheap iPad. I'm not sure. It sounds like, let me read it again. Hmm, Yeah, it says a new entry-level 9.7-inch iPad and an updated iPhone SE. Hardware updates from the tech company could include an updated iPad Pro in with Face ID tech, a new entry-level 9.7-inch iPad, and an updated iPhone SE. So absolutely, definitely we're going to keep an eye on Apple and see what they come out with. So guys, throw us some questions. Let's see what tickers you have to talk about. And Tim, I will read those out as they come through. Looks like we are getting some questions. Someone wants to look at IWM. Let's look at that. So IWM has been the one that's kind of been holding up for since
Better.
at least like at least the last year, sometime last year. IBM or IWM is the one that's actually kind of been holding strong. Yeah, we still like give back, you know, but and actually let me go shorter time frame. Let's go maybe 10 days. So it's given back, but I'm not too concerned just yet. So IWM, I still like it. Things like IWM, SPY, the Qs, UVXY, all these ETF, ETN indices, not indices, or ETFs, ETFs, ETNs that track the different indices, I tend to scalp those. They're, you know, occasionally I may hold just, a really small position of UVXY long or short if I feel the need to protect some kind of position in my account, but it is very rare that I'll do that. I usually won't hold um, like Qs or SPY, stuff like that. I usually only day trade them. I don't usually hold them for longer periods of time. So that lets me just kind of play whatever direction they're going day to day. I think that's all the questions that we have today. So not too many questions, guys. I know we did things a little bit differently today. Kind of just it's hard to put out things to watch when there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Um, and Tim will tell you the nature of the way both of us trade. We are, we trade day to day. So yeah, we do swing some positions, but we scalp just depending whatever direction the market gives us one day, today, from one day to the next day. Like we're not necessarily looking for a longer hold. That doesn't mean that we won't hold longer, but we tend to scalp day to day. So we don't necessarily like we thought it might be better instead of trying to throw out a bunch of tickers. We thought it might be better to kind of just talk a little bit about the mentality or the fact that yeah things are shaky but it's not the end of the world. We thought it would be better to talk about that than to give you guys a bunch of tickers that You may or may not work out depending on what the market decides to do. What are the timestamps you watch to find where market is going on a day? I'm not usually looking at a timestamp. Are you asking like the time frame on a chart? So if I'm looking, let me pull up like a daily chart on the Qs or something. And again, it's easy to say this after the fact because we already know what's happened. The Q we knew on, well, let's go back even one more day. So here's Thursday over here. We knew on Thursday that things were going to be shaky. We saw this sell-off. We saw more of a downtrend in after hours. Pre-market things kind of tried to come back up a little bit. We had a little pop. So, and then he said, no, on a day once the market starts. What are the timestamps you watch to find where the market is going on a day? No, once a day, no, on a day once market starts. So I am, let me actually go to a 1 minute. When I'm scalping, I'm usually playing a larger size, right? Let's zoom in over here. I may scalp this long for a candle and a half, and catch a little bit of movement there. If I see it starting to turn around, once it breaks this level, especially like through here, you see that the wick broke that. It tried to bounce up, couldn't break through that high. For me, that was a short signal. And I did actually play it short probably till about right here, so maybe here. Because as soon as it started to turn against me, I would have been out. But it's not necessarily a timestamp. I'm not really looking at a timestamp versus looking at where the candles are going and how much buying and selling pressure is within a candle. So especially up here, if I expand it too much, it's going to make it all skewed. Oops, that's not what I meant. Sorry, guys. Especially up here, you have this high, it flashed down. This next candle tried to bounce up, couldn't break that high, fell down, closed almost flat. This next candle opened up here, flashed again right to the high, couldn't break through, sold off. That multiple attempt to break that high a day, to me, that's a spot where I want to attempt to potential, or I'm going to at least watch it to go short. I may not short it up here. I may wait for it for this candle to start coming in to actually short it. So again, with a scalp, I'm not, let me make this a little bit bigger, or zoom out. I'm not shorting it up here and holding it to down here. When I'm scalping, and again, let's make this a little bit bigger. I'm gonna short it here, maybe up here. I'll probably cover it here, one trade. I may short it again, short it down to about here, second trade. I may wait this candle out to see what it's gonna do. This candle, it couldn't break that high. I may short this candle, cover it here. And I may sit out until I see this move. And once I see that move, I may try to go long. So I'm playing all the little moves throughout the day. And you know, I may, and I probably did lose on a couple trades through here, trying to guess what it's gonna do. And sometimes you don't see a clear signal or you don't get the kind of range that you want, but that's the nature of scalping. You take what you can get. So it's not like I know or I knew on Friday morning that the market was going to go down, so I bought puts. I happened to play puts because that's the direction it was going. And because I'm scalping, I know that my trades are really, really short term. It's not a very long period of time. So I'm going to take what I can get and keep scalping it, whether that's up or down. The question is how many candles do I watch to play? I'm not counting the candles. I'm watching the move. I'm watching whether or not the trade is moving against me. So if I'm short here, right? If I'm short and I'm green on this trade, on this candle, You see that wick bounces up. And again, I don't, it's so easy to go back after the day is done and say, this is what this is what I would do. It's completely different live. Like when you're live, it's a completely different story. But knowing me, I may have even covered it at that point and said, I'm not going to take the risk. I'm playing heavier. I'll take my little bit of green. And as soon as it starts to go back red again, I might short it until it moves against me. So if it doesn't break the top of this wick, I may stay down. I may stay in the trade. So I'm not counting the number of candles. I'm not saying for certain I'm going to stay in it for 3 candles or 1 candle or 2 candles or 10 candles. I'm simply looking at whether or not I see a trend starting to change. Down here, that trend short term, for the next however many minutes, looked like it was going to change. So I may have sat out right through here and said, I need to see, are we going to break this low so I can short it again? Or are we going to bust through this resistance so I can play it long? Let's see. Okay, next question. If you buy calls, the question is if I buy calls to open 5 contracts for 500 each, which is 2,500, is 2,500 your max loss? Yes. If you are the buyer of the call and all you've done is buy to open, your max loss is 500. Or I'm sorry, 2,500, the cost, the amount of your premium. You will not lose more than your premium. Does that answer your question? Okay. And guys, we are out of time for today. So I know that I missed a bunch of questions through here. We will try to get to those in tomorrow's daily recap as well. We'll answer some of those. We thank you again for joining us. If you are interested in joining our fabulous community, please do so at blackboxstocks.com. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe below. Well, not below because, that's for later on. But if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And we will see you all next week. Stay green. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.